We're holding about we're about halfway down the page. We yesterday I did not have time to do Chazar. If you don't mind, I would love to run through it one time myself. Just quickly. Boy Rava. Yeah, we'll start from there. Boy Rava, Mikra Megillah, Meis Mitzvah, Hai Minai Adif. Which one is more important, Mikra Megillah or Meis Mitzvah? Mikra Megillah Adif Mishum Persumi Nisa. I do Meis Mitzvah Adif Mishum Kavod Abrius. Right? Is Persumi Nisa more important or Kavod Abriot? After we asked the question, we answered it. Meit mitzvah adif damar gadol kavod habriot. Great is kavod habriot shedoche lotas et lotas es Torah. It's doche lotas in the Torah. Gufa Amar Yeshua ben Levi krach v'chol samach lo v'chol anir imai nidon kikrach. A krach and and anything that's next to the krach and anything that's can be seen with it, it has the same status as a krach. Tana samach afu pishenu nira afu pishenu samach. We taught samach even if it's not nira, and nira even if it's not samach. Bishlam nira afu pishenu samach meshkachat la kigon di yat v'bero shahar. I can have a scenario where you're not close, but it can be seen if you're on top of a mountain, right? If it's sitting on top of the mountain, now the samach afu pishenu nira. How can you have something that's next to it, even if it can't be seen? What's going to be the case? Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Achal sitting in a valley. Rabbi Yishua ben Levi. According to Rashi, this Gemara is saying that it's a halacha regarding walled cities, regarding redeeming a house in a walled city. If it has a status of a walled city, status of an unwalled city, right? So if you have a krach sheyashav, a city sheyashav, first it was inhabited ulbesof hukaf, and then they put a wall around it. So then nidon kikfar has the status of a village. My time. What's the reason? Because it says in the pasuk, "V'ish ki yimkor bayit moshav ir choma." When a man will sell a house that is settled within a place that has a wall, right? It's settled in a place that has a wall, right? Which means that the wall is there. Yeah, she'ukav al b'sof yashav. It was first hukav, and then it was established, right? First it has a wall, and then it was people living there. Not the other way around. Not that it was established, and then it was surrounded after. Okay, so that's what we got up to yesterday. Clear? Just a quick review. Rabbi Yishua ben Levi says, "Nu Gemara, krach she'im bo asara batlanim." If you have a city, according to the way it sounds like Rashi learns, that we're talking now regarding back to Megillah. Okay, back to Hilchos Megillah. A city that doesn't have 10 batlanin, right? Nothing to do with a walled city now. Just now krach means a city, not a walled city. Like the classic definition, krach usually means just a city. Doesn't mean necessarily a walled city. 10 batlanin. Batlanin literally means to be like batel, means to be like nullifying, like not working. That's literally what it means, right? Batlanim. So it means 10 people that are designated to sit and learn and pray in the shul. They're always available to answer kaddish, the minyan, and they're batel from working and they're learning. That's what it means. No, we use avrachim or whatever. Yeah, called batlanim. Batlanim means someone who just does nothing all day. So it means batlanim in this context. It means batlanim from work. They're batel from their regular jobs, right? Then they're hired by the city to be available for the minyan and stuff like that, and for learning. So if you have a city that doesn't have these 10 people that are available to learn and daven and whatever, then it nidon kikfar. It has a status of a kfar, right? What's a kfar? A village. So it's going to have a status of a village in the sense that what? That I can read the Megillah earlier, right? We learned in the first Mishnah. Day 11, 12, 13, right? It has, if it does.
This is coming out of left field, it has to do with whether you have a wall or not. It has nothing to do with whether there's.
No. Right now we're not talking about. No, that's what I said. This krach doesn't mean a wall. Usually krach does not mean a city with a wall. City, nothing to do with a wall.
No, I understand, but why wouldn't I think it's a village to begin with? Why does this make it a village? What would it have been otherwise?
A regular city that reads on the 14th.
And now it's what?
Now it's a village that reads earlier. That's what we're saying. We're saying it doesn't have a status of a village, right? There's a certain heter that exists if you're not a village. If you're not A city. You can read earlier.
So this is one of the litmus tests for whether you're considered a city or not.
Exactly. This is a litmus test whether you're considered a city. Very nice. I like the way you said it. Yeah. So krach shem b'asara batlanim nidon.
Good morning, Mordecai.
Oh,
I
wow.
wouldn't be here if you didn't. When you wrote that,
He wasn't feeling well. I went to sleep 2:45.
I saw that. I was like, I have to go.
So,
That was my lunchtime.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Come. We're already in the middle. Let's go. So, a city that doesn't have 10 batlanim is nidon kikfar. Right? It has a status like a kfar, like a village, which means that it has a status like a village, and it's not going to be considered like a city. It's going to be able to read earlier if necessary. So the Gemara says, "My kamash malan." What's the kamash malan? My kamash malan means what's the kamash malan? What does it mean kamash malan? What's the
Kamash literally means conclusion, but it's like, what's the rationale, maybe?
what?
Why do we?
Like what are you telling me by this? What's the halachic? Did the thing die over here? I think it might have died. I think the thing died. Oh no, it's not dead. Sorry. Can't see it, but. Right?
It's just one sentence. Should we catch him up?
Yeah. V'amar B'Shuv ben Levi. Go back where we started from. Where we got to yesterday. Yeah. V'amar B'Shuv ben Levi. Krach, a city, not a walled city, a regular city. She'en bo asara batlanim. That doesn't have 10 batlanim. What's it 10 batlanim? 10 batlanim. There used to be certain cities that could afford to have 10 people not work, and they would just be like a kol avrechim. They would be always available for learning and davening and stuff like that, and they would be supported by the city, right? Like the modern day Leviim, yeah. Like the Rambam says, anybody can be a Levi today, right? Anybody that wants to become themselves the all of Torah, they can become Levi. So you have a city that has 10 batlanim that they're supported by the city, and I'm sorry, it doesn't have. If it doesn't have 10 batlanim, nidon, it has a status kikfar, like a village. Remember we learned in the first Mishnah that if you're a village, you can read the Megillah earlier. So this is the litmus test. This is the decision maker. If you're large enough that you have 10 batlanim in the city available for learning and davening, then you're a city. But if not, you have a status of a village. What does it make a difference? Because then you can read the Megillah earlier, right? Village can read the Megillah 11, 12, 13, Yom HaKnisa, like we learned, right? So it has a status of a kfar if you don't have 10 batlanim. My kimash malan. My kamash malan. What's the kamash malan? Tanina we learned in a Braita. I'm sorry, Tanina we learned this halacha already in a Mishnah. Meaning, what's the chiddush? You're telling me that if it has less than 10, it's not going to be so we're saying Tanina already learned in a Mishnah. Ezu ir gdola. What's considered a big city? Kol sheyesh ba'asara batlanim. Right? There's a Mishnah that says clearly this halacha. What's considered a big city? Any city that has 10 batlanim. Ezu ir gdola? Question mark. What's a big city? The answer is this is a Mishnah talking. Kol sheyesh ba'asara batlanim. It has to have 10 batlanim. Pachod mikan, less than 10. Harei zeh kfar. It has the status of a kfar. So we already have a Mishnah that says clearly this halacha. Oh yeah. I took my wife's phone. Yeah. So we have the Mishnah says clearly that a big city is something that has asabad batlanim, and less than that, it's considered a village. So what's Rabbi Yeshua? Basically, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is an Amora, right? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is a much later rabbi than the Tanaim. He's not going to just repeat what the Mishnah told us. He has to say some sort of chiddush. What's the chiddush of him? Understand the question? What's the chiddush of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is just telling us what a Mishnah says. You understand the question?
He taught us something, and he just brought the same teaching from a Mishnah.
Meaning, why? Yeah. What are you teaching? And Amor needs to be mechadesh. He needs to say something different. He needs to say something new, something that wasn't taught until now. If it's a straight up Mishnah, so why are you telling me this? Just look in the Mishnah. Literally, it says word for word in the Mishnah. What's considered a city? If it has 10 batlanim, less than it's considered a village. So what are you adding, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi? The Gemara says no. Krach itzrich alei. Krach the chiddush of the city is needed for him. Krach, a city, itzrich alei is needed to say. Why does he need to say it? Why? Because you would think af al gav, even though Yeah? The mikloi le mi alma, you have people coming in from the world, you have people coming in from other places, right? In the city, like let's imagine New York City, right? New York City, there's always tourists, there's always people coming in. So you would think that, you know what? Even if you don't have 10 batlanim, but you know, you're always going to have a minyan, you're always going to have people there learning, chilling, or hanging out. Why? Because people are always coming in. Mikloile alma. That's a hard word to maybe you should write that word. Mikloile, they're visiting me alma from other places. Even though in a city you always have visitors from outside. So you would think you don't need to have mamish 10 batlanim from the city. You'll have people always from the outside of the city coming in, right? So you don't need 10 batlanim. The chiddush is that no. The chiddush is that no, that's not considered a city. It's still considered a village until you have 10 dedicated batlanim to the city.
So one more time, Krach means a regular city, right?
Yes.
City, you would need it?
You needed to speak out the chiddush of the city. Why? Because even though the mikloi le ma'alma, even though you have people visiting from outside, if you don't have 10 batlanim there, you're out. You're not considered a city. You're considered a village. Good. Yeah. Continue or it's not clear. It's clear. Michelle, you got it. Mordechai, you got it. Okay. Weiter. Amar Bishul ben Levi. Krach shecharav ulebesof yashav. Okay, if you have a city that was destroyed, Krach is a city, right? Shecharav, that was destroyed. Okay, ulebesof, and at the end yashav, it ended up being inhabited. Okay. Right, again, krach shecharav, a krach that was destroyed, ulebesof, and at the end yashav, it was inhabited. Nidon, it has a status kikrach, like a city. Okay. So we'll have to see exactly what it means destroyed. What is that? The Gemara is going to ask. What does it mean destroyed? What was destroyed? Okay, so my charav. What does it mean when it says charav? It was destroyed. Ilema charvu chomotav. If you're going to tell me, ilema, if you're going to tell me that the walls were destroyed, charvu chomotav, then yashav in, if they rebuilt the walls, then yes, right? In this context, yashav in Rashi says that the wall was rebuilt. Yashav in, even though yashav just really means they just lived there, right? But now we're saying charvu, when we're saying that it was destroyed, what was destroyed? The walls were destroyed, so now plug it back in, right? Plug it back into Rabbi Shua ben Levi's statement. If it's about the walls being destroyed, so Rabbi Shua ben Levi said, if you have a city that has walls, and then the walls were destroyed, and then the walls were rebuilt, it has the status of a krach. It has the status of a walled city, right? A city that had walls, then those walls were destroyed. Then Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, what? The walls were rebuilt. It has a status of what? A walled city. Right? Good? Clear? Let's plug. You understand what I just did? I plugged in the Gemara's answer back into the Rabbi Shua ben Levi's words. Okay. Let's go back one line. Our Rabbi Shua ben Levi.
Nowhere did we say like it has this din of krach.
Yes, we did. Look, read. Again, that's how.
We said Yoshev.
V'amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Krach shecharav, a city that was destroyed. What does that mean now? Destroyed the what? The walls. Ulebesof yashav, and then it was inhabited, which means it was rebuilt, the walls. Okay? Good? Nidon kikrach. It has the status of a walled city. Again, we didn't know that meant walled city until now. Now that we're saying it's talking about a walled city and the walls were destroyed, and but I'm plugging in with the Gemara's answer. You have to always do. Anytime the Gemara gives an answer, you got to go back and plug it in, make sure it fits. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Let's read it now together. My charav. What does it mean charav? What does it mean destroyed? Ilema, if you want to tell me charvu chomotav, that the walls were destroyed, and then the halacha is yashav in. Yashav, if it was rebuilt, then yes. Yashav, if the wall was rebuilt, then in it has the status of a walled city. Yes, in over here means yes, not ain. Okay, in over here means yes. Very important. Write it in. In, yes, which means it has a status of a walled city. But lo yashav lo, that if it wasn't inhabited, it wasn't lived in, then it wouldn't have a status of a walled city, right? Only if it's yashav, then it has a status of a walled city. But if lo yashav
It
lo,
was resettled?
yes, yashav resettled. But over here it doesn't mean resettled. Over here it means re-walled. That's what we're saying.
So then the
In
next
this
word,
context,
so wait, when it says lo yashav next, it means not rebuilt?
yeah, not rebuilt. Yashav, if yashav over here doesn't mean living there, it means rebuilding the wall. Yashav, rebuilding the wall in, yes, then you're gonna have a status of a walled city. But if you lo yashav, if you didn't rebuild that wall, then lo.
So yashav lo, period.
Yeah, that's what you would think, right? That's
Lo yashav lo, period.
no, not period, because now the Gemara is about to ask a question on that.
Comma?
Comma, yeah.
What does this word yashav mean? Because I understood it differently before. I thought it was more like settled or live.
Yeah, I know. In this context,
Now, just this context.
it means rebuilding the wall and not rebuilding the wall.
How do we have room to add that definition to the word?
Well, Rashi says Yashav in shechazar v'hukaf, that you reestablish the wall. Because again, we're trying to figure out. Rishon Levi said a statement. He said one statement. No, we don't. Again, Damoraim. A lot of the Gemara, you have to learn this, guys. A lot of Gemara is trying to figure out what the rabbis meant because they weren't clear. Because if they were clear, then a lot of the Gemara would not be here because you just have clear statements. But a lot of the things are not clear, and that's why we're trying to figure out what they meant. So Rishon Levi, the rabbi, came in one day and said, guys, if you have a city that was destroyed and then it was rebuilt, it has a status of a wall. It has a status of a city. What does that mean? So the Gemara wants to say, you know what that means? It was a city that had a wall, then the wall was destroyed, and then the wall was rebuilt. It has the status of a walled city.
Originally it was a wall city.
Originally it was a walled city. The wall was destroyed and then it was rebuilt. It has the status of a walled city. So Yashav in this context needs to mean that it was rebuilt. Understand? Just by the context of the statement. That's the way the Gemara is saying right now. Usually Yashav just means to live, like you're saying, like we saw yesterday. Yashav means to live. But now we're saying that. Okay, so now the Gemara says, so Yashav in that if you rebuilt the wall, then yes, lo Yashav lo. But if you don't rebuild the wall, then it has a status of an unwalled city. That's not true. But Tanya, we learned in the Braita, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yossi, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yossi says, Asher lo choma. This is a puzzle going back to this topic of Bate Arachoma, right? Which is what we learned about yesterday with the city that has the walled city that has a house that you sell in it, how long you have to redeem it. That was what we learned about yesterday. Bate Arachoma. The pasuk says over there, Asher lo choma, and it spells it. If you look on the side of the Gemara, yeah, Asher lo choma. It spells it in the pasuk with a vav, but you can read it with the aleph, right? Lo, the word lo, with the aleph means no, right? Lamed aleph, what does that word mean? Modern day Hebrew, we don't know. Ken or lo, what does ken mean? Yes, and lo means no, right? And lo with the vav means to him. So it has two different meanings, right? If I just hear the word lo, I don't know which lo you're talking about. It can be lo to him, and lo can mean not. So the pasuk says lo with a vav. So we learn it, but since we read it with an aleph as well. Even though it says lo in the Torah with a vav, we read it with an aleph sometimes. So meaning like this: Asher lo choma. It's a city. It's a city. It's a house that was sold in a walled city. Asher lo choma, that has a wall. But you can also read it that doesn't have a wall, right? Lo can either mean that it has a wall, to it a wall. Asher, that lo to it with a vav, choma, a wall. Or lo can mean it doesn't have a wall. Asher lo choma, there's no wall.
But it has the vav, so it doesn't mean no.
Very good. But the Gemara is going to darshan it like this. Let me show you. Let's read it inside. The Gemara is darshaning from the fact that we read it, that you can read it both ways. You can read it with a vav and with an aleph. So afa pi she'en lo achshav, even though right now there's no wall there. V'haya la kodem lechem, but it had a wall earlier on. Even though right now there's no wall, but since it had a wall earlier, it has the status of a walled city, which is going directly against what we just said. We just said that in order to have a it has to be rebuilt. But we're saying, according to this drasha and the pasuk, which we're trying to borrow, I guess, to Hilchos Megillah, Asher lo choma, even though it doesn't have a wall now, but it had a wall. All we have to know is, did it have a wall at Yeshua ben Nun? By the way, there's some big nafkaminas in halacha, right? That's why there's a few cities that the poskim discuss in Israel that we read on both days, the 14th and 15th, with Machmir, because they might have had a wall from Yeshua ben Nun. Right now, there's no wall. What are you talking about? Bnei Brak, there's no wall. Yaffle, there's no wall. They might have been a wall then. And this is the source for that. Yeah. So the Gemara says that cannot be pshat. That charvu means that the wall was destroyed. That can't be the pshat. What does it mean? Ella, rather, Ella my charv. What does it mean? Charv shacharv me'asara batlanim. It was lost from the 10 learners. It used to have.
That's how I thought it was.
It used to have the 10 learners, and now it doesn't have the 10 learners. So if the 10 learners come back, then it has the status again of a city. You can only read on the 14th. But if the 10 learners are out, you have a status of a village. So nothing to do with the wall. It's a city, regular city, krach, regular city. You have a wall, you have 10 learners, city. Big city. You have a halakhic status of a ear. You don't have 10 people, you have a status of a village. That's it. Okay, let's stop over here by the word batlanim. Okay? For this week's Chazara, we have to begin on the bottom of Va'avodat Chamur Mitam Torah. We'll go back from here, okay? You see Va'avodah? Va'avodah, it's about 5 lines from the bottom.
I think Mark in the beginning of the week.
You see that? Va'avodah Chamura Mitam Torah. Va'avodah. Va'avodah, right to that word, yeah. So that's going to be the weekly after you do today's Chazara twice on your own time. Then we're going to do that. Okay, let's get started though. We have like mamash 5 minutes, and we have to do Rosh Chodesh today. Long day. People have to leave early. You have to. I don't know how you guys are going to daven today because we're not going to finish davening before. So I guess you're going to have to figure out adjust your schedule a little bit because davening is not going to end today before 50 at least. If I go speeding fast, it's going to end at 50. That'll be like a world record breaker for Rosh Chodesh. So I guess you're going to have to tell your people that you're going to be. Okay, anyways, let's get started on Chazar. Yeah, let's go. Go for it. Whoever wants to start first. We didn't do so much today. We did about 8 lines. B'chavod.
Okay, so the Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Krach she'ein bo asara bat lanin nidun ke kafar.
Yeah, a city that doesn't have.
A city that doesn't have the 10 batlanim, it has the din of a village, not a city.
Yes.
My Kamashman, how do we have?
What is the chiddush of that?
Yeah.
Tanina, we have a mission that says that.
Yeah, Tanina. Izahi ir gedola. What's considered a big city? Kol sheyesh ba asara batlanim. Cities that have 10 batlanim.
So that clearly says that if you have 10 batlanim, you're considered a city, and pachot mikan.
Pachot mikan, if you have less than 10, Hari Zekvar, you're a village. So he didn't teach us anything so far. So far, whatever he said is just the same as what the Mishnah teaches us. But Rabbi was saying that if an Amora is making a statement, it's going to be a chiddush that we didn't know just from reading the Mishnah. So what's the chiddush? What Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was teaching us is that Krach, a walled city, it's derichle. Not a walled city. Just for now, just to be considered a city. Krach. It's derich. You need in it. It's derichle. Because you might say afalga demikalai le me'alma. You need it to learn city. You need it for learning a city for learning what a city actually is. Because you might think that FLP, even though there's people visiting from all over the world, like Chabad Midtown Manhattan, there's people always from all over the world traveling with their bags. There's always people there. Chabad Midtown Manhattan is considered a city, but no, if it doesn't have 10 designated people, it doesn't have the din of a city. So that was his
kiddush. Hold on for a second, just to give my wife her phone back. I took it back, but I'm gonna be back.
Sure. Let me stop this.